Hey you guys, it's Therese and welcome back to my channel, and today's video is like a weird writing diary, but not a writing diary. So I'm counting it as a writing diary for June, because by the time this video should go up, I should be done with draft 2, which I'm very excited for, because right now I'm writing the last chapter, so I'm like right there, but there's some trepidation there for some odd, annoying reason, so it's fine. But since this is gonna be kind of my, not my last writing vlog, because I'm gonna be doing this, I am taking a break from the current work in progress that I am writing for like a month or two, maybe 3. I'll probably be picking it up back again in like August / like September, because yeah, girl needs a break. Like, I love my writing, and I'm sure that as I take a break and work on other projects, I'll be kind of working on like fleshing out like where I want the characters to go, any kind of holes I want to fill that I felt were problems in the second draft that I realized toward the end. So you guys will be seeing more of these, or like you will be seeing my normal monthly kind of situation, but not for this current work in progress that I'm doing. Because if I see the same words over and over again with no kind of direction as to what I'm doing with it, I will injure someone. Primarily my laptop, which is a bad thing to do. But instead of me kind of rambling for a long time about my trials and tribulations with this book and the good things that are happening with this book, I decided to make a fun video this time. And since my birthday is this month, I am turning 23. The years are catching up to me, but I decided to do the 23 things I learned from draft 2, and this kind of varies from what I need to do as a writer towards like / advice I wish I had heard from someone else as I was writing draft 2 / things you might need to hear while you are drafting your book for the first time or the 25th time, or if you are querying and you're kind of sitting there staring at your book and dying. Because I know that is a step that I am not happy to get there soon. Because I told myself once I'm done with draft 3, then we begin the querying process. Not excited, but let's just kind of get into it. And thankfully, I did number all of my little fun facts, so I will not lose count, as I can't count. The most I can count as a reader and a writer and a fellow musician is 12. I have a calculator for literally everything else. But the first thing I learned while drafting draft 2 is that I really need to stop overwhelming myself with notes. Like, I'm staring at the pile of papers that is draft 1, and I realized, was it necessary for me to color code everything? No. Did I have to color code the grammar I needed to edit? No, because I'm pretty okay with going back in and seeing like the line by line situation that I need to fix. But I did it anyways. Why? Because I was 1, excited, and 2, a dummy. Editing draft 2 into draft 3, there will be no color coding. Which freaks me out, because I love to color code, and I don't know how to edit this book. Number 2 on that I learned while editing draft 2 is that I need to give myself more time to breathe. Like, everything that I have to do this forward is no longer like word vomiting. I have to figure out, things have to be more well thought out. Everything has to be a bit more methodical, and like things that I put in the book has to be chosen particularly well. And you can't do that if all you're doing is just smushing everything together and trying to, you know, word vomit it out and hoping that like second time is the better time, because that is the definition of insanity. And like, is it insanity? Yeah, it's insanity where you like repeat things in hopes of like in hopes of coming out with a different outcome. The only thing is, you need to change something in order for there to be a different outcome. And I haven't done that. And number 3, don't say you're gonna edit a chapter a week. Primarily because you have other things in your life, like socializing and other books to read and other obligations, like work and booktube, that kind of inhibits you from writing once a week. And it's a really stressful thing, I found. Like, it was easier to write a chapter a week because I could just kind of word vomit out everything. But to edit it, I have to sit there and figure out my notes. I have to see what went wrong, how I want to change it, and let's not forget if you're going to be like getting rid of scenes or dumping in new scenes, and it's a lot of things coming at me at once to do in the span of 7 days. And on top of that, 8 hours of my day each day are kind of taken out from work. I can't write during work. Then I have other obligations that take it away. So really it's probably like 5 days that I have total altogether to actually like read or write. Probably not even that because I can't do math, and what is like 8 times 5 is 40. And there are how many hours in a day? Or how many? I don't want to know. No, there should be 5 because like there's 48 hours in a day and like 40 hours a week. Plus like anything else is like about, yeah. So technically I have like 5 total days to write, but 8 of those other days are like me sleeping. So just don't do it. Just don't do it. Number 4, don't, under any circumstances, use NaNoWriMo to edit a novel. Because that's like 1,000 words every day for a month. And I've never felt so emotionally drained out from writing a story than when I wrote in NaNoWriMo. Like I will do like new novels or continue novels in NaNoWriMo. That is like word vomit to the max. But when you're trying to edit things and you have to write 1,000 words a day, 1,000 words, 1,500, one of the two a day to reach 50,000 a month, it doesn't work out that way. And my brain was so fried that like when I got back on the horse to start editing again after like a 2-week hiatus, I was just kind of copying down the words that I was writing and not really thinking about what I needed to put down. Hence, point number 2. So, we're not doing that again. Number 5, the characters know what they're doing even if they say they don't. Let's face it, like, as crazy as it sounds, the characters talk to me about what they want their lives to work out. And sometimes they're like, I want this kind of arc, or I want a happy ending. But they don't want to tell you in what way they want the happy ending in. So literally, I'm just stuck sitting here like with a bunch of empty words and like throwing ideas at them to see like which one they perk up at, which one they want to throw like a chair at me for, which ones make them cry. So really just like listen to your characters, because past Therese, you done screwed up with the character arc and now you have to fix it because you didn't listen to her because she didn't know what you wanted. So you thought you want one way, but in reality she knew what you wanted and she was aiming to go this way and you did not go that way. You went that way. It's great. It's fine. I'm fine. Number 6. Something that I learned is that if a character plot, character arc, or even if a character doesn't really work, to fix it. Don't sit there and like write it out and hope that somewhere in the middle of the book it clicks. This is the same character that I had a problem with from point 5. I thought that a romantic arc would have worked better for her, and at the time it made sense, but as I wrote it, it just wasn't clicking. So I tried to force it and force it and force it, and it wasn't until the end where I realized that, hey, romantic isn't going to work. What about we make them hate each other and try to kill each other? And somehow that worked. I don't know how, but it did. And I wasted so much time when I really just had to listen to myself. It's a process, you guys. Whoever said writing was easy is a liar and an untruther, and there's a special place in hell for them. Number 7 is that to have fun with world building, like yes, you have to have certain things make sense, magic systems, how things work, histories, cultures, and all that stuff, but honestly have fun with it. Like you can change things around in several drafts, you can adjust however you want, but like if you're thinking too much about it, like that one question that I tried to do where it asked where the water system came from, that's just too much. Like at some point, yes, this will probably be questions that you can pop up and you can answer, but like in the overall scheme of things, you probably don't have to explain it, as like people will tend to fill the holes in themselves, but to just really have fun with it. And like also trying to figure out the sexiest Slavic accent was a harder task than we thought. Really hard. Number 8, I think, is kind of an overarching important thing for every writer, and that is what works for one writer will certainly not work for you. I have learned that for the first draft, I love to outline. I love to, especially, well, depending on the draft, but for this draft, the first draft, I love to outline. Like, I had a wall covered in, like, it was a mirror, but I had a wall covered in index cards telling me what happened in certain chapters and certain scenes that really kind of helped me work on where it was going. But like in terms of the second draft, I struggled to figure out what the notes were, so I took bits and pieces from other booktubers who are writers and other writers who post about their writing process, and it didn't work for me. Like, I have several pages on my OneNote that I did not reference. I did not do anything with it or didn't even finish the said pages because it wasn't working for my brain. Like, in retrospect, it was a good idea, but it just, how it worked was a little too, it was too vague in the idea of what I wanted, but it was too in-depth for me to really figure out what was wrong and like transfer it over, if that makes sense. So yeah, just remember, what works for me won't work for you, and what works for you probably, maybe, will not work for me. So really, like, you as a writer, me as a writer, knows how our brains kind of function. So let's just kind of listen to that, because there was not a lot of listening done to me during this time, and it struggled. Number 9, read books in the genre that you're writing. Something that I found is that I have been recently going on a bit of a contemporary kick, primarily because contemporaries are quick and easy reads. They flow by really quickly, and they tend to have a bit more diversity in them. I struggle a lot with fantasy because they are, I will go on a rant on this probably in July, but it bugs me because a lot of, like, I love my Greek myths, I do, but we base a lot of our fantasy off of like the Western ideals of fantasy, and for some annoying reason, you are creating an entire world based off of absolutely nothing but your own imagination and your own capabilities as a writer. Why? Why are they all still all white, cisgender, and straight? Like, and everyone's like, oh, it's just not realistic to have like multiple aspects of like this little situation. It's too diverse. And it's like, that's how the world works. Like, fiction or other, or fantasy or other, there are people who celebrate multiple religions, there are people who are different skin colors, who different sexualities, gender orientations, preferences in ice cream, and you're telling me that in this fantasy world, you wrote about your experiences, so you created just the majority of like literally every experience ever. Which is fine, writers write their experiences, but it's like, it's really hard to read fantasy when everything that you read fantasy-wise is primarily all about experiences that are not your own, and people are like, oh, well, I don't want to like offend anyone because it's not like my culture, it's not like whatever. It's like, you're writing a fantastical world where you can create your own culture, and all you really have to do, you don't have to like create like a big coming out story or like explain the necessities of like a certain hairstyle. Like, you can do research and like write about a character who is gay as a straight woman or a straight man, or however you want to do life, and just do research on things that like are typical cliches, how to not write cliches, what is considered offensive, what kind of people, like LGBT characters, are people looking for. Same thing if you're writing about people who have different skin colors or different gender orientation from you. And it's just like, rant there, rant done. I will continue this later in a different video. But essentially, read the fantasy, like read the genre that you're in, primarily because it is easier for you to figure out how you want your story to go by like knowing how the arcs went in this book, as well as knowing like kind of seeing where, if you, if you are a writer who wants to make fantasy more diverse, you'll see where there are certain holes in like diversity areas, and like you just get to see how magic systems work, and it's a little easier to hop into a fantastical world and write about it when that's all you read and it's like second nature to you. That makes sense? Sorry for the rant. It's fine. I'll continue the rant in July. Number 10. Enjoy it. Like, honestly, like, stop worrying about other authors, stop worrying about their progress, stop worrying about booktubers or author tubers, other progress. It's not your own. Like, a lot of the times I do love watching a good writing vlog, but I stopped myself from doing that because I found myself comparing my progress to theirs and like turning it into a weird competitive race, which it doesn't have to be. So I do kind of just binge those like once a month just to support them and like see where they are and congratulate them. But in terms of like consistently writing them, I can't do it anymore, or like watching them, I can't do it because it does make me feel like I should be in a certain spot where I shouldn't be, because like everyone's books will be ready when they're ready. And just because yours isn't ready yet, it doesn't mean that you're failing. Number 11 is one that I found to be, that I forgot about, and that is to write in other places. Like, I typically write on my table or at my table on my bed, but sometimes I do have writer's block in those areas, and like I have I live at home with my family. There's a lot of noise. So like, you know, you either have to move around, either like go outside to write, coffee shop, bookstore, the floor, downstairs, however you want to do it. Just, you know, find a place where you can get your groove on. If you're struggling in one area, you can move around. Number 12 is to socialize at least once a week. I know it's kind of a given, but like sometimes when you're stuck in your own head for a while, it was hard for me at least to like get out of it and like continue writing when I've been sitting at home after work every day just doing nothing. So like I found that like socializing at least like once a week, even if it's like going out to like sit at a bookstore or something and just reading, or if it's like me going to the movies with my friends, or like however, summertime there are a lot of things going on. I just found that it helps like clear my head away for a bit, and then when I go back to things that I were struggling at, it's a little easier for me to get some perspective because I haven't been staring at a lovely like pure white page for like 24 hours. 13. I should have done this in the first place, and I'm realizing now that like as I edited or ran through kind of what was problematic for me in my second draft, is that I should have written down goals that I wanted to have done, because I have remembered that I learn everything better when I write it down. So to have like kind of a set of goals that help me remember like, oh yeah, this is how I wanted this, and this done, like this. For draft 3, this was really helpful for me to figure out like where my holes were, what I felt like was wrong with the draft, and kind of help me figure out how to fix that in coming drafts. And you'll probably be seeing more of these kind of spreads on my Bookstagram. If you guys follow me, I do like bullet journal flip throughs on my Instagram stories, and I do have a little like highlight for it, as well as I post about them on the actual like account. So you'll be seeing more of those pop up because they're really helpful for me to figure out like how I want this to go, and it's like a weird brain dump, but it's organized, and it's like the best thing for my brain. Number 14 is to put the old draft away. Like, while I understand that like the first and second draft are like wonderful bases, when I stare at it for so long, I find myself just using it. And sometimes when I need to rewrite a scene completely, like the tone of it, or just get rid of certain scenes, I can't because it's on the page. It's staring me down like, Mom, you need to put me in this draft, and it doesn't work out for me. And it was a struggle. Like, I think I spent a good 2 to 3 weeks on a scene because I didn't know how to change the tone of these two characters from like heartbroken to I want to kill you for wanting to kill my family. And it only really went away when I like threw the page on the floor and was like, we're freehanding this, and it worked out. So yeah, I don't know how to edit a book, and there are no books out there that really explain a good process. So it's been really trial and error. Number 15 is to start new ideas when you're just so your brain's not clogged. Again, I did struggle a lot with like my brain wanted to write new ideas because, you know, brains are brains, and I found that if I didn't write them down, like either in a like my journal, or if I didn't start like actually drafting it, it was really hard for my brain to really wrap around what I was supposed to be doing. when I was stuck there going, oh yeah, this would be really great for this scene or this one. So now if you follow me on anything or know me, I have several drafts for other works in progress that I will be starting in July, August, and potentially September, as well as several little like clippings in my journals that are of snippets of ideas I want to do, and lots of Pinterest boards and playlists on Spotify. Number 16 is to not worry about querying until you get there. I was really stressed out about querying once the second draft or the third draft was done, and I'm still kind of stressed out about it. But I've realized that like I need to focus a lot of my energy, a lot of my time on writing the thing that I'm trying to get queried rather than to the querying process. Like I will find ways to research querying process and like write the perfect query letter once I get there, but at the current moment I have to put all my energy into this, and the more I stress about the query letter, the less I can focus on the book. So it's just these little things. Number 17 is that it's okay if my draft isn't as ready as others. Like I said, I watch BookTube, I watch AuthorTube, and I see people talk about how their draft's ready at like draft 2, or they feel like they should be querying. They're content with kind of where things are going in draft 2, and I'm stuck here kind of at draft 2, but really it's more of a draft 1.2, and draft 3 will be that draft, and that's okay. Like everyone's books mature at a different pace, everyone's writing styles mature, and it just kind of depends on where my brain is ready, where I'm emotionally ready, when the draft is ready. And it's fine if that'll be in draft 4 or if that'll be in like draft 2 or draft 3. Number 18 is to take care of yourself. Mental health wise, like it's really draining to write a book. If you guys didn't know, by my several times I've sat there and go, who told you writing was easy? But mental health is really important. So like learning to take breaks from my writing has been really detrimental to like keeping me sane and saving what's left of my sanity creative wise, and like just finding other outlets for me to like enjoy myself and other hobbies has been really, it's been nice. Number 19 is one that I struggled with a bit, and that is if you're stuck on an idea to come back to it, put the draft away, get some fresh air, or you can like write it down. I like to, sometimes when I'm stuck, I realize there's like a mental block, so I will just kind of journal my feelings away, and then the mental block is gone, and then everything's okay again. Or alternatively, if you're not like me and struggle for asking for help, ask your friends for help for said ideas. Number 20 is one that my friend Ethel has lovingly beat into my brain, and that is, it is not if you get published, it is when you get published. I know that like clearly this book might not be the book that gets published for me. It could be some other book that I have been working on alongside this one, or maybe it's not even a book that I had started already. But it's always an idea of if this book gets published, and it always really kind of brings it down a bit. It makes me feel bad about my writing, that there's something to be improved upon, when in reality I should be saying when this book is published, because then it doesn't say that this will be the book that gets published, it's saying that you will get published in general, and it's a nice little thought. Number 21 is that I gotta practice on my fight scenes. I used to be really great at them back when I still wrote fan fiction, primarily because a lot of the fight scenes that I did was like for Marvel fan fiction. So like when I would watch the Marvel movies, my brain would be like writing out how the movements were, and it worked. But since I've switched to more contemporary, and the fantasy that I have been reading hasn't been that action-packed, it's more about like magic and whooshies, it hasn't been working for me. So I think that like during this little break, I will be sitting there and trying to retrain my brain to write as I'm watching action movies, just so that way my mind gets used to knowing how things should move again. Number 22 is to tell people about my story. I used to be very hush-hush about this book. I used to say like, oh yeah, I'm writing a story, and then just kind of that's it. But I've learned that the more confident I get with the book and where it's going, the more I should tell people. And that's not so much like giving them like the full query letter, the full rundown. Sometimes it's me saying like, oh yeah, they're a dragon, like giving them a brief description, like it's fantasy. Then everyone seems to get really excited for it, and like a lot of the people that I have surrounded myself with are super supportive and want to read the book. So to have people kind of go like, oh yeah, like that, I like that, and like to see people like know that I've been talking about it and to see my excitement for it, they are in turn excited and want to read more. and it just gets me pumped up to have them like potentially have my book in their hands, and like I have to get used to it anyway because I'm gonna have to tell people about my book when this goes out. So, and finally, the big 23 is that someone somewhere needs this book. Like, whether it's not so much in terms of like it is life-saving or life-altering, but I'm sure maybe it is, as most books tend to be. But like I said, one of my previous points is that there isn't a lot of diversity in fantasy. Like recently there has been more, but I'm still grasping for straws to find them, it seems. And I grew up reading fantasy, so maybe someone somewhere out there needs to see a face that has a non-binary character, that needs to have a black character, that needs to have a brown girl playing with dragons or saving the day, or someone who is angry at the world, and you know, just all these things mushed into one. And I know it sounds like a lot for a fantasy, especially for a potential debut, but I don't think so. I think that if someone somewhere out there needs, like, only reads fantasy at the current stage in their life, and somehow my book is the book they pick up and sees themselves there, I think that's great. And I think that like people who are afraid of like writing something or publishing something, being afraid of their characters being hated on, I think it's important to remember that like you typically write the things that you have experienced in, that you understand, or that you desperately needed when you were younger. And I say this quite a lot about like the LGBT reads that I wrap up, the Filipino things that I have, or other things like depression or mental health that I put out there as I read it. But like someone out there needs it. So like if you are struggling to write your story or feel like it's not good enough, this is your message for me to say that this is your book is going to be great. If you need any kind of advice at all, I don't know if I can give any, but if you need someone to kind of root for you, feel free to send me a message somewhere. I don't mind. But someone somewhere out there, whether it's someone your age, someone younger than you, someone looking to see their face in some kind of media, someone needs it. So go ahead and write it, because you never know. But that is it for this video. I feel like this is super long, but I did get on quite a few tangents, so it's fine. But if you guys have any questions or concerns about kind of my writing process, please leave me a comment. I'm sure I will have other video ideas planned for writing wise, and I would love to see your ideas on that. So until then, hit like, subscribe, and I will talk to you guys everywhere else. Everything's in the description, and I hope you guys have a great time. And if you don't see me babble about this book for a while, this is the announcement saying I will be taking a hiatus from this work in progress, but you'll see me talk about everything else. So, bye!